Have you ever looked at a business and wondered why some just seem to catch every single wave and ride it to success, while others, well, they just get completely wiped out? It's usually not about what's happening inside the company, it's about what they fail to see happening on the outside. All right, let's get into it. Okay, just think about this for a second. You've got taxi medallions, which were once licenses worth, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then you have that video rental card that was your golden ticket to a Friday movie night. What's the link? And there you have it, ride-sharing apps and streaming services. Both were these massive external shifts that made very established business models, well, basically obsolete overnight. They got hit by forces they either didn't see coming or, maybe worse, they chose to ignore. So why does this happen? Well, it turns out that the world a business operates in, its environment, often has a way bigger impact on its success or failure than pretty much anything else. It's one of the most fundamental ideas in business strategy. This is summed up perfectly by a core idea from our source material. A company's performance is directly, and I mean directly, tied to how it responds to its changing environment. Think of a CEO as a ship's captain. You can have the absolute best ship, the greatest crew in the world, but if you are not constantly scanning that horizon for storms or for clear weather, you are sailing straight into disaster. So how do you become one of the smart captains? Well, you do it by adopting what's known as an outside-in strategy. So instead of being totally obsessed with your own ship, you start by looking at the sea around you. Now, the fancy name for this whole approach is the Industrial Organization Model, or IO for short. And its main idea is actually really simple, but it's incredibly powerful. The industry you're in and all those external forces acting on it are way more important for your success than your company's own unique resources. Basically, the game matters more than the player. And this flowchart just lays it all out beautifully. Look right at the top. Everything, and I mean everything, kicks off with the external environment. Analyzing that world out there leads you to pick the right industry, and that, in turn, tells you what your strategy should be, what kind of assets and people you need to get, and ultimately, how you win. See? It's a super clear path from the outside in. And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. It's a real, actionable, 5-step game plan. You scan the horizon, you find an industry with a lot of potential, you craft a killer strategy to dominate in that specific industry, you get the resources you need, and then you go out and you execute. Okay, so how do you actually do step 1? How do you scan that horizon? Well, the most powerful tool in your toolbox for this is what's called a pestle analysis. If you're the ship's captain, this is your high-powered telescope. So let's zoom in and see how this thing works. First up, we've got P for political. You gotta ask, is the government stable? Are they changing tax policies? Just think about how new trade tariffs can instantly jack up your costs, creating a huge headwind. Or, on the flip side, how new government subsidies for green tech can create a massive tailwind for a whole new industry. Next, E is for economic. This is all about the general health of the economy. Are interest rates climbing, making it more expensive to borrow and grow? Is inflation eating away at your customers' wallets? These big trends directly affect how much money people have and are willing to spend on, well, anything, from a new car to a cup of coffee. Then, S stands for sociocultural. This is all about people, how we live, what we value. Is the population getting older, creating a huge demand for things like healthcare? Are people's views on work-life balance shifting because of remote work? These changes totally redefine what society wants, and because of that, what it's willing to pay for. T is for technological, and wow, is this one a game changer. I mean, just look at the digital revolution. New technology can literally create entire industries out of thin air, like app development, while at the same time making others, like our old friend the video rental store, totally obsolete. Next up, L for legal. Think of these as the official rules of the game you're playing in. Any change in employment law, product safety standards, or health regulations can force a company to completely change how it operates, from who it hires to how it makes its products. And finally, the second E is for environmental. And this has become absolutely massive. We're talking about new rules on carbon emissions, huge consumer demand for sustainable products, and even the real physical risks of climate change. These are all powerful forces shaping business strategy right now. Now, this slide makes a really critical point. No single trend is just good or bad. Take an aging population. That's a massive opportunity if you're in medical services, but if you're a college, well, that's a potential threat, right? A smaller pool of young students. The exact same trend creates winners and losers. All right, so you've done your pestle analysis. You've got this big, long list of opportunities and threats. Now what? How do you take all that observation and turn it into a single, clear number that tells you how you are actually doing? This is where something called the External Factor Evaluation Matrix, or EFE matrix, comes into play. It's a fantastic tool. You list out your key external factors, you give each one a weight based on how important it is, and then you give your company a rating from 1 to 4 based on how well you're responding to it. Then you just multiply the weight by the rating to get that weighted score, and you add it all up. In this example, the company scores a 2.10. Now, on this scale, the average score is 2.5. So a 2.10? Well, it's a huge red flag. It's telling you this company is responding pretty poorly to the opportunities and threats in its environment. It's a clear, objective report card. So look at how far we've come. We've gone from being reactive and just getting blindsided to proactively scanning the horizon with Pestle, and even scoring our own performance with the EFA matrix. You literally have the tools now to be that strategic captain. And that really brings us to the most important point of all. None of these tools are a crystal ball. They're not going to let you predict the future with perfect accuracy. That's not the point. The point is to build a business that's agile, that's resilient, and that's prepared for the many different futures that could happen. So, I'll leave you with this to think about. Whether it's your career, your industry, or maybe just something you're passionate about, which of these pestle forces, political, economic, social, technological, legal, or environmental, do you think is going to rewrite the rules of your world next? And more importantly, are you going to be ready for it?